World War I, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict that lasted from 1914 to 1918. It was one of the deadliest wars in history, with an estimated 8.5 million soldiers and 6.5 million civilians losing their lives. The war involved the major powers of the world, including Germany, Austria, and Ottoman Empire on one side, and France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States on the other. Causes of the war. The causes of World War I are complex and multifaceted, with several factors contributing to the outbreak of the conflict. Some of the major factors that lead to the war include alliance system. Prior to the war, Europe was divided into two main alliances: the Triple Entente, which consisted of France, Russia, and the United Kingdom, and the Triple Alliances, which included Germany, Austria, and Italy. These alliances were formed as a way to maintain the balance of power in Europe, but they also made it more likely that a small conflict could escalate into a global war. Arms race. In the years leading up to the war, the major powers of Europe engaged in an arms race, with each nation building up their military and industrial capabilities. This arms race created a sense of tension and competition between the major powers, and made it more likely that a small conflict could lead to a large war. Imperialism. The major powers of Europe was engaged in a competition for colonies and territories around the world. This competition often led to conflict between the major powers and made it more likely that a small conflict could escalate into a large war. Nationalism. Nationalism was a major force in Europe at the time, with many people believing in the importance of their nation and its power. This sense of nationalism often led to conflict between nations and made it more likely that a small conflict could escalate into a large war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the throne of Austria, by a Serbian nationalist in 1914 was the trigger event that led to the outbreak of war. Austria-Hungary declared war on Siberia, which led to a chain reaction of alliances and declarations of war. Outbreak of war. On July 28, 1914, Austria declared war on Serbia, sparking a chain reaction of alliances and declarations of war. Russia, an ally of Serbia, mobilized its army in response, which led Germany, an ally of Austria, to declare war on Russia. France, an ally of Russia, declared war on Germany, and Germany responded by invading Belgium, which led to the United Kingdom declaring war on Germany. Within weeks, the major powers of Europe were at war. Let's talk about the war in Europe. The war in Europe was fought on two main fronts, the Western Front and Eastern Front. Western Front was the main theater of war, with the German army facing off against the allied forces of France, the United Kingdom, and later the United States. The Eastern Front was a more fluid and dynamic theater of war, with the German and Austro-Hungarian forces facing off against the Russian army. On the Western Front, the war settled into a stalemate with both. The early months of the war was significant fighting on the Western Front, with the German army, making significant advances into France. However, the Germany advance was halted at the Battle of the Marne in September 1914, and the war settled into a stalemate with both sides digging in and building a network of trenches. This led to the development of trench warfare, which became a defining feature of the war. The war lasted for 4 long years, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. The United States entered the war on the side of the Entente powers in April 1917. After Germany resumed unrestricted submarine warfare against American ships, the entry of the United States into the war tipped the balance in favor of the Entente powers, and the Central Power were forced to surrender in November 1918. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in June 1919, officially ended the war and imposed harsh penalties on Germany. Germany was forced to accept full responsibility for the war and pay reparations to the Entente powers. The treaty also created new nations out of the former empires of Germany, Austria, and the Ottoman Empire, and redrew the map of Europe. The impact of World War I was far-reaching and profound. The war marked the end of the old order in Europe, with the collapse of the Empire of Germany, Austria, and the Ottoman Empire, and the rise of new nation-states. The war also set the stage for the rise of fascism and totalitarianism in Europe, as well as the outbreak of World War II. The war had a profound impact on the lives of soldiers and civilians alike. Soldiers faced horrific conditions in the trenches, including exposure to poison gas, disease, and the contact threat of death. Civilians also suffered greatly, with many cities and towns destroyed by the fighting and millions displaced from their homes. The war also had a profound impact on the economy, with many European countries left in ruins and struggling to rebuild in the aftermath of the conflict. In conclusion, World War I was a global conflict that had a profound impact on the course of human history. The war was sparked by a combination of political, economic, and social factors and was characterized by trench warfare and new technologies and weapons. The war lasted for 4 long years, with neither side